every Disney princess into their opposites. Here is how the process is going to work. We take a character like Tinkerbell, find their 3 main attributes, and their key clothes, eyes, and hair colors. Then we ask my art robot Craig to flip all of those into their opposites. Then he prints out the new character as their opposite. I also made a poster with all the opposite characters, and I'll slowly reveal it to you after each character. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna show you a trailer of a world where all the Disney princesses as their opposites come together. You're gonna wanna stick around for that. So without any further ado, let's begin. Starting with Elsa. That's right, I'm wearing every Disney princess outfit that we're doing today. On to Elsa, the coolest princess. Get it? Because she has ice powers. All right, Craig, are you ready? Okay, Craig, what are Elsa's 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power? So according to Craig, her first attribute is regal, and the opposite of that is chaotic. Her second is reserved, and the opposite of that is outgoing. And her third is powerful, and the opposite of powerful is weak. On to the colors. Her key clothes colors are blue, white, and silver. And the opposite of those is orange, black, and gold. And her hair is platinum blonde, so the opposite would be black. And her eye color is blue, and the opposite of that would be gold. And lastly, her power is ice and snow magic, so the opposite of that would be fire magic. Okay, Craig, now that we have all the opposite attributes, let's see this opposite Elsa. Oh my gosh, she's destroying Arendelle. Elsa wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. Let's see how this opposite version of Elsa would impact the storyline of Frozen.
As children, Elsa and Anna delight in playing with Elsa's fire magic. One fateful night,
Elsa!
Anna wakes Elsa to play.
Wake up, wake up, wake up!
But Elsa's fire spirals out of control, engulfing their room in flames and tragically taking the lives of Anna and their parents. Overcome with sorrow and despair, Elsa descends into darkness as she grows up, her grief fueling chaos in Arendelle. Despite her yearning for connection, her attempts to reach out only result in further devastation, as everything she touches is consumed by fire. Weak and utterly alone, she becomes easy prey for those who seek to exploit her, sealing her fate, and that of her kingdom, in ruin.
Okay, well, that's incredibly depressing. I was not expecting that. Anna dies? Why does that always happen? In all my past videos, Craig always makes her die in the stories. Like, Craig, what do you have against Anna? Honestly, I think that's actually pretty accurate. Like, that might actually happen to Elsa. If her powers were fire and not ice, I feel like tragedy would happen. Craig, you did a good job matching the attributes. Her hair is black, and she's wearing orange, and there's fire everywhere, but I feel like it could have been presented better, so I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Now let's add her to the poster. Next up, we have the sea voyager herself, Moana. Guys, the hair was supposed to be black, but it came in brown. What is this? And the shirt was supposed to be red. I kind of got ripped off. It's okay. Shh. I've often wondered that if it came down to it, would Moana eat Hey if she was like stranded at sea? I would never eat you poochums. Okay, Craig, what are Moana's 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power? So according to Craig, her first attribute is courageous, and the opposite of that is fearful. Her second is determined, and the opposite of that is undecided. Her third is persistent, and the opposite of that is passive. On to the colors. Her key clothes colors are tiger red, beige, and blue, and the opposite of those are green, electric blue, and orange. And her hair color is black, so the opposite of that would be blonde. And her eyes are brown, so now they'll be blue. And her power is to navigate and command the seas. And her opposite power would be a land navigator and the ability to control Earth. Craig, now that we have seen all the opposite attributes of Moana, let's see the opposite version of Moana. Wow, this one actually looks really good. Like, she looks like the opposite Moana. Craig, you did your job. You did what I'm paying you for. I'm not paying him. I'm sorry. Let's see how this opposite version of Moana would impact the storyline of Moana.
Moana's fear of the ocean keeps her on the island, where her inability to control her powers creates earthquakes that cause whirlpools that end up destroying fishing boats and cutting off the village's resources. Undecided about how to handle the growing problems, Moana hesitates, leading her people to lose faith in her leadership. Remaining passive as more tidal waves approach caused by her fear, the heart of Te Fiti is never restored, and Maui is never rescued, leading to the death of all life on her world.
Why is everyone dying? Like, okay, Craig, why can't we just make a happy little story? Oh, she couldn't control her powers, but that didn't mean that nobody helped her. Somebody helped her, and nobody died. The world didn't get destroyed. Come on, Craig. Come on. Okay, Craig, I think you actually did really good. The hair is blonde, the eyes are blue, and she's wearing all the opposite colors. And she does look very fearful and passive and, like, undecided. So I really like this one. So I'm gonna give this one a 10 out of 10. Can you guys believe it? A perfect score for a perfect hair day. Now let's add the opposite version of Moana to the poster. It's really coming together. Next up, we have Mulan. 你好，这上新的名字。Konnichiwa. That's actually Japanese. As you can tell, I'm not made for this role. I don't know. I'm wearing socks on my hands. This is not normal. Oh. Thanks, Carters. Okay, Craig, what are the 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power of Mulan? So according to Craig, her first is resourceful, and the opposite of that is impractical. Her second is loyal, and the opposite of that is disloyal. And her third is selfless, and the opposite of that is selfish. Moving on to colors. Her key clothes colors are green, blue, and cream. And the opposite of those are red, orange, and gray. And her hair is black, so now it's blonde. And her eyes are brown, and the opposite of brown is dark blue. And her power is exceptional combat instincts and adaptability in battle. And the opposite of that would be disruptive aura that demoralizes allies and strengthens enemies. Okay, Craig, now that we have all of her opposite attributes, let's see this new version of Mulan. Wow, she looks really different. Her hair and her clothes is, different. She looks more like a girly girl now, not someone who would take her father's place in, like, war, you know? Let's see how this new Mulan would impact the storyline of, well, Mulan.
In a world where Mulan was ruled by selfish ambition, she refused to take her father's place in the army, deeming the sacrifice too great for her own comfort. Disloyal to her family's honor, she abandoned her village to chase fleeting dreams of wealth, leaving her father to face conscription. Ill-prepared and lacking resolve, her father fell on the battlefield, and with no one to stop them, the Huns swept through China, razing entire cities in their path.
Once again, we got people dying. Like, honestly, we can have an opposite version without people dying. Like, honestly. Craig, you did pretty good with the colors and stuff, but she's just standing there. Nothing's really going on. So I'm gonna give you a 7 out of 10. Now let's add the opposite version of Mulan to the poster. Next up, we have Ariel. How did they, like, sing underwater? Because wouldn't it just, like, sound like this? And, like, wouldn't bubbles come out of their mouth? Like, I'm confused. Okay, Craig, what are Ariel's 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power? So, according to Craig, her first attribute is curious, and the opposite of curious is apathetic. Her second attribute is spirited, and the opposite of that is reserved. Her third attribute is determined, and the opposite of determined is submissive. Now let's move on to colors. Her key clothes color is green, lime green, and purple. And so the opposite would be red, magenta, and yellow. Her hair color is red, so the opposite would be green, and her eye color is blue, so the opposite would be orange. Her power is an enchanting voice. The opposite of an enchanting voice would be a disenchanted voice. So basically one that would make people want to leave, flee, run away. Okay, Craig, using these new opposite attributes, let's see this new version of Ariel. Wow, this one actually looks pretty good, but my question is, why is she so small? She looks like she's in, like, grass. Like, why is she so tiny? let's see how this new version of Ariel would impact the storyline of Little Mermaid.
Ariel's apathy keeps her in the ocean, where her reserved nature prevents her from even exploring its depths. Submitting to Triton's control, she suppresses her dreams entirely. Her chaotic voice drives away both humans and sea creatures alike. Isolated and voiceless, Ariel's once vibrant world becomes stagnant, her story fading into obscurity.
I'm honestly just glad that no one died. Like, Craig's learning. This one is pretty good. I mean, I guess it was kind of basic, so I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. Now let's add the opposite version of Ariel to the poster. Time for the next princess. And it is Merida. Guys, I will be honest with you. I forgot a Merida costume, so this is all you're gonna get. This is Merida. Okay, Craig, what are the 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power of Merida? So according to Craig, her first attribute is rebellious, and the opposite of that is conformist. Her second is tenacious, and the opposite of that is quitting. And her third is fearless, and the opposite of that is timid. And then her key clothes colors are navy blue, black, and dark brown. And the opposite clothes colors are dark orange, white, and royal blue. And her hair color is orange, and the opposite of that would be blue. And her eyes are blue, and the opposite of that would be orange. And her power is archery, and the opposite of that would be a professional swordsman. I have a sword too. Not saying I'm professional, but it's here. Craig, now that we have the opposite version of these attributes, let's make the opposite version of Merida. Okay, so this is actually kind of insane. I don't know if I like it. I don't like it. Let's see how this crazy opposite version of Merida would impact the storyline of Brave.
Merida conforms to her family's expectations, agreeing to an arranged marriage that stifles her individuality, but only after her mother is already turned into a bear. Even though her mother's curse can be broken, her lack of resolve causes her to quit searching for the solution. She spends her time sword fighting for fun and abandons all else. Timid and willing to face real danger outside of the arena, Merida retreats entirely to her own selfish life.
At least no one died, as we know of. There was a war, like a kind of war. People probably died, but no one that we know. So Craig, I'm just gonna give this one a 3 out of 10. Do we have to add her to the poster? Yes. Let's add her to the poster. Next up is the frog-kissing woman herself, Tiana. Do I look good in green, y'all? Just tell me what the 3 main attributes and key colors and main powers are of Tiana. So, according to Mr. Meanie over here, Tiana's first attribute is ambitious, and the opposite of ambitious is complacent. And her second is hardworking, and the opposite of hardworking is lazy. And her third is practical, and the opposite of practical is idealistic. On to colors. Her key clothes color is green, lime, and cream, and the opposite of those is red, light purple, and dark gray. Her hair color is black, and the opposite of that is blonde, and her eye color is brown. So the opposite of that would be blue. And her power is exceptional culinary skills that bring people together. And the opposite of that would be food that causes illness and divides people. Craig, let's see this opposite version of Tiana using her new attributes. Okay, so this is Tiana as her opposite, and honestly, it looks pretty good. Her hair is blonde, her eyes are blue, and she's wearing red, light purple, and gray. Like, I see it all. It's pretty good. Let's see how this version of Tiana would affect the storyline of Princess and the Frog.
Tiana's complacency keeps her from saving enough money to open her dream restaurant, and her lazy attempt to start small results in a broken-down food truck. Ignoring practical challenges like food safety, her poor cooking causes illness, driving away her few remaining customers. Desperate, she convinces an oblivious Charlotte to fund a lavish restaurant using her father's fortune. The grand opening is a success, but Tiana hires others to run every aspect of the business, which eventually leads to the downfall of the restaurant empire, not only ruining her, but also Charlotte and her father financially.
Okay, so her being opposite would have affected everyone in the story negatively. I really like this one, but I do feel like a little bit more could have been going on in the photo. But since the colors are all accurate, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Now let's add the opposite version of Tiana to the poster. Next up is Cinderella. Okay, Craig, what are the 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power of Cinderella? So according to Craig, her first attribute is graceful, and the opposite of that is clumsy. Her second is resilient, and the opposite of that is fragile. Her third is hopeful, and the opposite of hopeful is cynical. Her key clothes colors are blue, white, and silver, and the opposite of that is orange, black, and gold. And her hair color is blonde, and the opposite of that would be black. And her eye color is blue, which the opposite of that would be brown. And her power is the ability to talk to mice and other animals. And the opposite of that would be repelling all animals. Using these opposite attributes, let's make the opposite version of Cinderella. Wow, we have a lot of orange going on in this dress. Like, this is a big dress. She does look, I actually kind of like it because it does have all the colors. It has gold, black, and orange, and her hair is black and her eyes are blue. So this is actually pretty good. Craig, how would this version of Cinderella impact the storyline of Cinderella?
As a child, Cinderella's heart begins to harden under her stepfamily's ridicule. Instead of holding on to kindness, she learns to mock and belittle, leading her to become close and accepted by her stepsisters. At the ball, her clumsiness creates a scene as she stumbles into the prince. Laughter erupts, but Cinderella lashes out at the crowd, leaving the prince disenchanted. Cinderella watches as the prince marries another, her chance at happiness lost.
Wow, that's actually just like really sad. It makes me sad. I really like this one. The colors pop and all the attributes are there, so I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10. Now let's add her to the poster. Next up is Anna. Guys, look, it's a new outfit, and believe it or not, this is like my real hair. Okay, Craig, what are Anna's 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power? So according to Craig, Anna's first attribute is spirited, and the opposite of that is lifeless. Her second attribute is resilient, and the opposite of that is fragile. Her third attribute is selfless, and the opposite of that is selfish. Moving on to colors. Her key clothes colors are magenta, black, and teal, and the opposite of that would be yellow, green, white, and light red. Her hair color is auburn, and the opposite of that would be a natural green, and her eye color is blue, and the opposite of that would be brown. And her power is hope, and so the opposite of hope would be despair. Using these opposite attributes, Craig, let's see the new version of Anna. Okay, so this is the opposite version of Anna, and she has green hair, and she's wearing orange and gold and white, so yeah, very interesting. Let's see how this opposite version of Anna would affect the storyline of Frozen.
Anna, now fragile, is too scared to play with Elsa and her magic, so she never gets hurt. Anna's selfishness causes her to abandon Elsa and become jealous of her powers, further alienating Elsa. This leads to Elsa becoming unstable in her powers, causing their parents to seek a cure, leading to their death. Just like the original story, Anna, fragile and indecisive, shuts herself inside the castle. Elsa, believing Anna has rejected her, unleashes a storm so fierce it engulfs Ariel in ice. With no one to fight for her or the kingdom, Elsa disappears into the mountains, and Anna fades into infamy as the princess who let Ariel freeze.
So that's just sad, because Anna is usually the one who has hope, and she's lively and she's happy, but now she's like this hopeless creature, and Elsa gets mad and everything's going wrong, and like, at least nobody dies, right? Okay, so I feel like it's actually pretty good. This is what Anna would look like, and it looks like she's in the castle, and everything's like tinted green. So I'm gonna give this one an 8 out of 10. It's actually pretty good. Now let's add the opposite version of Anna to the poster. And also, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, because it's good for the community and the plants. Next is Pocahontas. Can you paint with all the colors of the mountain? Or is it wind? It's wind. Is it wind? Wind. Just. Okay, Craig, what are Pocahontas' 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power? So according to Craig, her first attribute is spiritual, and the opposite of that is materialistic. Her second is courageous, and the opposite of that is fearful. Her third is wise, and the opposite of that is foolish. On to colors. Her key clothes colors are light tan, light red, and turquoise, and the opposite of that is blue, light green, and dark orange. Her hair is black, so the opposite would be blonde, and her eyes are brown, so the opposite would be blue. Her power is a deep connection to nature, and the opposite would be a division or a discord between nature and Pocahontas. All right, Craig, let's see this opposite version of Pocahontas. Okay, this one is actually really good. Her hair is really long, but it's blonde, and her eyes are blue, and she's wearing all the colors. And yeah, it looks really good. Craig, how would this version of Pocahontas affect the storyline of Pocahontas?
Pocahontas becomes captivated by trinkets from passing traders. When settlers arrive, she eagerly bargains away her people's sacred lands for glittering treasures. Fearful of standing against the settlers, she turns a blind eye to their encroachment. In a rash attempt to secure her place as a bridge between worlds, Pocahontas makes a disastrous deal, promising resources she cannot deliver. The betrayal sparks an all-out war, leaving her people displaced and their lands scorched.
Okay, so that's actually like insane. She gave up her people? What? But she does look like she's collecting trinkets and like she has something in her hand. So like she's writing or something, and she looks like much more wealthy than she did before. So, Craig, I think you did a pretty good job with this one, but since it's so weird to see her like opposite, I'm gonna give you an 8 out of 10. Now let's add her to the poster. Next up is Belle. Beauty and the Beast. Okay, Craig, what are Belle's 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power? So according to Craig, her first attribute is intelligent, and the opposite of that would be ignorant. Her second attribute would be compassionate, and the opposite of that would be cruel. Her third attribute is brave, and the opposite of that is cowardly. Moving on to colors. Her key clothes colors are orange and yellow, and the opposite of that would be blue and purple. Her hair is brown, and the opposite of that would be a natural blue, and her eyes are light brown, and the opposite of that would be blue. And her power is perceptiveness, and the opposite of that would be judgmental. I don't even know how that's a power. Sounds like an attribute. Craig, you're losing your edge. Craig, let's see this opposite version of Belle. Wow. Craig, how would this version of Belle impact the storyline of Beauty and the Beast, other than leaving a huge dent?
From an early age, Belle shuns books and imagination, her ignorance leaving her uninterested in the world beyond her village. When her father is captured by the beast, her cowardice keeps her from offering herself in his place. When the villagers rise against the beast, Belle stays silent, unwilling to stand against them. The beast falls, his curse eternal, and Belle remains in the village, where her bitterness and isolation make her an outcast to all but Gaston. She marries Gaston and lives out her days, forced to answer to Gaston for every daily need of his.
Okay, so she's lazy now. She's just being mocking and judgmental. She's cowardly. I'm sorry, she's having trouble. And it doesn't really look like Belle, so I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. Now let's add her to the poster. Next up is Snow White. The only person whiter than me is Snow White. It kind of looks like I'm in a rock band. I'm done. Alright, Craig, what are the 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power of Snow White? So according to Craig, her first attribute is gentle, and the opposite of that is harsh. Her second attribute is optimistic, and the opposite of that would be pessimistic. Her third attribute is motherly, and the opposite of that would be neglectful. On to colors. Her key clothes colors are yellow, blue, and red, and the opposite of that would be purple, orange, and green. And her hair color is black, so the opposite would be blonde. Her eye colors are brown, and the opposite of that would be dark blue. And her power is the ability to communicate with animals, so the opposite power would be repelling animals. Okay, Craig, using these new attributes, make Snow White into her opposite. Okay, so this is Snow White as her opposite, and honestly, it doesn't look that bad. It still looks like Snow White, she's just blonde and she's wearing a different outfit. Let's see how this version of Snow White would impact the storyline of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It kind of sounded like I said dwarves. Can you imagine that? Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Just, which one should I go into? And then one of them is like a bathroom and somebody's... Let's get on to the story.
From her earliest days as a princess, Snow White's harsh words and cold demeanor drive away both animals and people. When she flees the evil queen, her pessimism clouds her judgment, and she stumbles into the dwarf's cottage, treating them with disdain and neglecting their kindness. Her refusal to care for the cottage or herself repels even the woodland creatures that once might have protected her. Vulnerable and bitter, Snow White is easily deceived by the evil queen's poisoned gift. Without allies to save her, she succumbs to the curse.
So, Snow White died. We kind of lost our streak of no one dying, because literally the main character died. Okay, so it's actually pretty good. She does look like Snow White, but not the opposite version. You just changed the colors, Craig. You didn't really change the personality. So I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. Now let's add her to the poster. We're getting close, only one more to go. I like this hair, it's really long. I don't really know what's going on with the bangs, but yeah. Okay, Craig, what are Rapunzel's 3 main attributes, key colors, and main power? According to Craig, her first attribute is creative, and the opposite of that is unimaginative. Her second attribute is energetic, and the opposite of that is lethargic. Her third attribute is curious, and the opposite of that is apathetic. On to colors. Her key clothes colors are purple, pink, and brown, and the opposite of those would be yellow, green, and blue. Her hair is blonde, and the opposite of that would be black. Her eyes are green, and the opposite of that would be natural red. Her power is healing and nurturing through her magical hair, and the opposite of that would be a curse that causes harm to those she touches. Okay, Craig, using these new attributes, let's see the opposite version of Rapunzel. Okay, why did Craig choose for this one to be a little chubbier? Let's go back and look at the attributes real quick. Okay, so I think lethargic would definitely lead to her gaining a little bit of weight because she doesn't feel the energy to go do anything else except eat. I can relate to that a little bit. So that makes sense. Now let's see how this version of Rapunzel would affect the storyline of Tangled.
From the moment she's locked in the tower, Rapunzel's lack of imagination leaves her days bleak and empty. When Flynn Rider stumbles upon her tower, her apathy keeps her from engaging, and her cursed hair strikes him the moment he gets too close, leaving him gravely wounded. Panicked, Gothel convinces Rapunzel that the outside world is a danger she can never face. Gothel attempts to reverse the magic in Rapunzel's hair every day. But one evening, Gothel's attempt to reverse the magic backfires spectacularly, causing her to die. With Gothel gone, Rapunzel remains trapped in the tower. Rapunzel starves and passes away. The lost princess now lost forever.
Okay, so opposite Rapunzel is kind of sad. Like, she doesn't engage in anything, so that's kind of sad. I feel bad for her, so I'm gonna give her an 8 out of 10. It looks pretty good. It looks like the opposite version of Rapunzel. Now let's add her to the poster. Guys, look at this poster. It looks so wonderful. Like, it came together really well. A few princesses were left off, so if you want a part 2, comment down below. Let's get to the trailer.
In the vast expanse of the multiverse, an interdimensional villain named Malgrath sought ultimate supremacy. His one obstacle, 12 princesses: Elsa, Moana, Mulan, Ariel, Merida, Tiana, Cinderella, Anna, Pocahontas, Belle, Snow White, and Rapunzel, each guarding their worlds with unique virtues. Frustrated by their resilience, Malgrath turned to an enchantress for aid. "Give me a spell to weaken them," he demanded. The enchantress smirked and conjured a spell of opposite power. This will reverse their good traits, twisting them into their darkest selves. But be warned, victory through corruption holds its own peril. Malgrath unleashed the spell. Portals tore through the multiverse, pulling the princesses into his world. Their bravery turned to fear, kindness to cruelty, and hope to despair. Each princess arrived, no longer protectors, but pawns of their worst selves. Malgrath struck with glee, their disunity making them easy prey. Yet in their final moments, flickers of their true selves emerged. Elsa's fiery rage softened, Anna's selfishness turned to love, and Mulan's fear shifted back to courage. Together, they shattered the spell and united. Overwhelming Malgrath, the villain's defeat was a grim reminder. Losing oneself to darkness is the greatest weakness. Only truth and inner strength can prevail.